Eric, what did you learn about hiring and firing as the company was growing? Because it seems like if you're Boeing and you have that many employees, if you make a bad hire, the impact is going to be felt, but you can get rid of that person. But it seems like with a small growing company, one bad hire could really damage growth. It could damage morale. It could damage profitability. What were some of the lessons that you learned about hiring and firing?
I would argue Boeing's no different than the rest of us. This recent door issue with Boeing, it's just one employee, perhaps maybe two, being careless
Hmm.
can destroy the reputation of a generational company. I mean, like multi-generational company. And I don't think anybody would argue that the door issue with the Alaska flight has really done some harm to Boeing's reputation. What I realized, and filling a job with a body is not even close to good enough. Filling a job with somebody who can do the job well is barely a start. Making sure that not only can they do it, but they want to do it, that it's aligned with who they are as a person. We use the culture index as one of the many tools that we utilize to try and align how people behave just normally with the requirements that their job has. So, if I'm ultra studious and I'm not fast paced, but I'm going to get it done right. I want that person in the accounting department. I still need them to hit the deadlines, but I want them to do it right. There are other roles, I just need people to be really great communicators
Hmm.
and fast paced. And so aligning the right people to the right role is absolutely critical. And then culture really matters. I will say this, as far as firing goes, I don't know that we've ever fired anyone too soon for their sake or ours. I think we tend to, try and make it work. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are that way. I think I am impressed with entrepreneurs who can say, "Yep, I got it right. I fired them right when I should have, or I let them go, or we transitioned them." And by the way, the term firing, I don't think anybody should ever be surprised that there's a transition coming. I think we should have had good conversation about that well in advance. Of, hey, look, this is what we need from this role, and if you're able to do it, great. And if you're not, we'll help you move on.
Eric, you attribute your success, most of it, to your core values. And I'd love to explore that a little bit deeper with you. What are the core values that constitute who you are as a person and a business person?
There's some hard lessons, and I'll say this. I personally believe that you should be able to do business with me on a handshake. I have learned that that does not apply to a large percentage of the population, sometimes the hard way.
Ooh.
When people make a commitment, oh, yeah, we're going to get that to you, but we need you to move ahead. Well, that doesn't mean they're ever going to get it. We're going to get you that change order, but we need you to get this done right away. Okay. What I found is people say the right things, but oftentimes ethics and values are situational for a lot of people. I strive to have integrity in my values. And when I miss the mark, I tell all of our team members, look, if I've got spinach in my teeth, do me the kindness of letting me know, which it goes directly with, if I miss the mark on one of our values, please let me know. Like, if you think I got it wrong, let's have a conversation. But I think building transparent, mutually beneficial relationships is critical. I think honoring our commitments is critical. And it's not to say that we get it 100% right. I mean, some of it's beyond our control. If we plan to do a job and all of a sudden the part is a year out, well, we're going to have a conversation. And it's not going to be fun for anybody, but it is what it is. We're dealing with vendors. So I think we need to judge our success by the way we impact others, those around us. True success is not something that happens alone. Our customers should, you know, feel they got great benefit out of our relationship. And so judging how we did based on how we did for them is really critical.
Hmm.
And I think the same is true with the internal team too. I mean, I want to see our team not just be successful at their job, but have a successful life. And, that's a little different than just writing a check at the end of the day. It's, like what's important to them.
Eric, do you think too many bosses hide too much from employees when it comes to maybe the financial situation of a company or some of the inner workings of the company? I mean, how much should an employer share with the team? Because I feel like for most of my career, at least in broadcasting, the managers were not super transparent about how they were being compensated by the parent company. What were the metrics on their performance review, and I just feel like in a lot of companies, I think the atmosphere could be much improved if there was just a lot more transparency. I'd be okay if you told me corporate says we're getting zero raises this year. Nope, our budget is not going to increase next year. I would respect that more than I, would somebody saying, well, you don't deserve a raise or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, I think having a conversation and being transparent about the economics of a particular industry, right? Hey, our industry is going through a shift, and margins have dropped, and ad buys have dropped, and we literally can't afford raises this year. We need to hold the line. I think that's a very real conversation that people ought to have, rather than denigrating their team members. Denigrating, like if I feel the need to denigrate a team member, it's time for us to part company. I mean, like, my job as a leader is to see people. One of my mentors, Warren Rustand, says we are people becoming. We are humans becoming. We're not humans being. And one of our jobs as leaders is to see the potential in others and help them to achieve that. And the day that I don't see the potential in someone anymore, and I feel the need to denigrate them, especially on a personal level, that's a good time for me to either transition them to someone else to lead them within the organization, or to transition them to another organization.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting that you quoted Warren. My boss and your friend Dan Rogers also quotes Warren on a regular basis. You and Dan have some history. During the pandemic, Dan really started to refine his vision of this mission to redeem work. He decided to start this podcast, started sidekicking, essentially consulting companies for free and for fun, with the idea that you could make money and be successful as a business and still have people feel good at work and fulfilled. And so this idea of redeeming work, as you've been kind of a bystander to this as Dan has rolled this out into the world. And I'd love to know just what your perspective is on Dan's mission to redeem work, because this is the craziest, most amazing roller coaster ride that I've ever been on in terms of work. There's no job description. The only job description, and Dan recently told me this, is be Mark and be awesome. who says that?
Well,
But it's leading to some amazing things.
Yeah, apparently Dan does. It's funny when we talk with salespeople. It's like, oh, well, do I need to? No, I don't need you to keep a time card. Like, you have your own schedule, and you do what you want to do as long as you succeed. Be who you are. Go out, be successful, and as long as you're successful, we don't have to have a whole lot of other conversations. Yes, we want to track some level of metrics as it relates to performance, but KPIs are important. Early on, Dan and I got out to lunch, and Dan kind of ran through everything that he was thinking about. And it wasn't quite formulated at the level that it is today. I mean, the fun thing is to watch him bring all of these brainstorm thoughts into a much more cohesive and actualized activity. And it's fun to watch that start to come. Well, it's been happening for some time, but with the book coming out and all of that, it's fun to see all of these things that are tangible come as a result of some of his early thoughts. I really do think it's almost a calling for him as much as anything else. And I think it's something that we need. We lack the number of people we need in the construction industry because it's physical labor, and people don't want to do physical labor. There aren't enough salespeople in the world right now because nobody wants to go out and actually interact with other human beings. And yet these are things that are noble. And at the end of the day, you get to look at this tangible thing that you produced and feel proud of what you've done and have a positive impact on your community. And so I think there's value, huge value. And, I look at Mike Rowe as another guy that he's the dirty jobs, right? Like, he goes out and this is what it takes to keep the city running, but nobody's aware of it because these people are in the sewers, right? Like, I just look at that and I go, that's flipping awesome.